Hello, Christian Livingstone here. It's January 2023 now. Yee! Happy New Year. Anyway, this video is going to be on an electric trike evolution. And I say that because, I've gone round and round on this trike. It's not this trike. It's another trike, a side project. I've had it for several years. I got the trike in trade. I used to mow somebody's property when I lived around the corner. She lived in that house since 1950 when she just got married. She's passed away now, but she was a dear, a sweet neighbor friend of mine. And she traded me this adult trike, a typical adult trike with the foot pedal. It was a single speed. It was, the cheapest thing you could find on the market, anywhere for years and years. She had it in her garage, and I refurbished this glider, a couple of gliders she had that were vintage. They were very cool. And her son, who's older than me, gave it to her back in the 70s or something. And it was beat up. It was rusted and bad. 5 colors of paint, but I refurbished it, TIG welded it, and made it look like brand new, and she loved it. And she traded me this adult trike, and she kind of didn't want to give it up. She was 80 years old at the time. She'd never ride it, and I didn't want to take any money from her, so I said, I'll take that trike. And after I finished doing her stuff for her, she gave me the trike. She said, yeah, somebody just gave that to me. Pick up her barrels or check the mail. And so that's what I'll do also. I'll go over there. My mailbox is a little damaged from the ice. We'll deal with that. Get it here. Yeah, this is interesting. It's not snowy. Snowy is kind of fun because it's soft, and I think you get a little more traction in the snow. But this is real ice. A little snow mixed in. Yeah, it just has a different feel and sound. Hey, Norma. This is really interesting on the ground. It's frost covered ice, and it's interesting. Yeah, let me get your mail too. She had a hip replacement surgery, and she's taken a couple of falls, but keeps on ticking, and had a knee replacement as well. So, I'm a little protective of her. Yeah, these are icy roads here. But the old electric hand cycle doesn't seem to have a problem. Huh? Oh yeah, you can or can't. It's just junk mail.
So, now are you ready to go do what you were going to do today, or are you back from it?
What was I going to do?
I don't know. I thought you said that you was going to the doctor, but I didn't.
No doctor.
Okay.
No, I got nothing really to do, you know. Maybe work on my little projects, indoor projects. Huh? Well, I'm kind of tinkering with that adult trike we traded for, and you know, I kind of laid that project aside, but you know, I plan to get back to it this winter. So.
Well, this is a good time to be working on it.
Inside, yeah.
It's just not just real nice outdoors.
No, it snapped cold quick, you know, and hard.
Yeah. Well, and this at first to me, just standing here looking at ice, a lot of ice out there.
Yeah, yeah. No, you stay down, and
I'm going to.
I would recommend you not get in your car and go anywhere.
I'm going to. I want to go get my glasses checked today, but I'm not going to.
No, put that superfluous stuff aside.
I can wait.
Yeah.
I can see, so I can wait.
Yeah, and
Thank you very, very, very much.
oh sure, yeah. If you have some incidental issue or something, feel free to call. You know, but if you get low on groceries, order a pizza.
Okay. Thank you.
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. It was kind of funny. But anyway, I've had this trike for several years, and it's been a side project of mine. And, you know, like with this, I like to get creative with the TIG welding, the fabrication, and the power transmission systems because, you know, thank goodness for China and with all the capitalism and enterprise that's going on over there. I mean, a lot of those poor people have been raised out of poverty in the last 20 years, and they're producing millionaires well beyond anybody else in the Western world. So, you know, good for them. And they're producing products for us everywhere on the planet that are anti-inflationary. You know, these motors for e-bikes, the kits they sell are just incredibly well priced and robust and good quality. I just dig it. And so I thought, well, I'll take on this other trike project just as a prototype, something I do occasionally. And sure enough, you know, my tendency is to want to have rear drive on a trike, you know, to get the traction and stuff. And, you know, this trike has evolved too. It's dual rear drive. I got two motors in the back so I can go in the snow and all kinds of groovy stuff. And finished it and didn't want to take any of the money out of pocket from her. So she had that old trike and she said, oh yeah, somebody just gave that to me. And so I accepted that, and I thought I would just spiff it up a little and sell it on the street right outside the place here and put a sign on it. But it was only single speed, and I thought, well, I don't want to sell it or even give it away to a friend with a single speed, because if they encounter a little grade, you know, it can be a problem. So I thought, well, I'll just get one of those 5-speed drop-in hubs that the trikes, you know, have a slot for, and you know, I'll feel better about doing it that way. And so I bought one, and sure enough, it did not fit. And so I thought, well, you know, I weld. I'm an amateur TIG welder and fabricator, so, you know, I'll just chop up the tail section of the trike and, you know, build a different gearbox for that internal hub to set right in, and, you know, be done with it and put a little touch to it, you know, my little touch, because I like to use diamond plate, so, you know, that was the reason I could use some. So I did that and installed this 5-speed hub here, but you know, the chain line, it messed up the chain line. It was off, so I decided, well, I'll fix that chain line. I'll chop out the bottom bracket down here where the crankset goes through, because it was one of those one-piece cranksets that you can't adjust them. They're cheap, they're old, they've got cage bearings. They're not very good, but they're you know, heavy duty, sturdy, cheap. So I chopped that out, welded in a more standard 68 millimeter bottom bracket, put seal bearings and a different crankset, and sure enough, the chain line was spot on, and, you know, all was well. And always in the back of my mind, I thought, well, maybe maybe I'll electrify this, you know. But, you know, undoubtedly I won't get my money out of it at that point. So I kind of put it on hold. And then the tail section of this trike had one of those cheap wireframe baskets in it, and they're poor and they're flimsy. Okay, so here's a loose fit up of the trike, you know, with that mid-drive hanging down there, and you can see that cargo bin basket I fabricated out of my favorite materials, both expanded metal and diamond plate, because I just know kids love to jump up and hop in the back of these when you're rolling, especially if you put an electric motor on something like this. They'll go crazy, but they'll sit in the back and they'll want to touch the wheel, you know, as it goes around. And, you know, it can have rocks and maybe glass or something. So, you know, I just decided, we'll prevent that right at the outset on this, regardless of whether I keep it or sell it off or do something with it, trade it away. Some young mother would, you know, undoubtedly haul her kids or go to the grocery store with the kid in back or something, and they'll do that. But, you know, I thought, well, I want to avoid the front drive on a trike. That's the quickest and easiest, probably most elegant solution, is just to put a front drive motor on the front wheel, you know. But, you know, me, like I said, I didn't like that idea. I thought, well, no, I want rear drive, blah, blah, blah. And so there was a company called Cyclone, and they're really cool because they import some of these products from Asia and sell them for cheaper than most other American importers, North American importers. And they had this Cyclone kit, this you know, kit that was pretty much just a big potent motor with the clutch mechanism, exterior planetary driven one, and a kind of a cheap mounting bracket assembly, but it was well priced, and so I bought one. I thought, oh, I'll put that on that trike, you know, and it was a mid-mount configuration where you got two chain rings up front. One's a clutch, but when you hit the throttle, it'll go on the other chain ring and drive the rear. It will overcome at least two things that I think are obstacles or a little less than an elegant solution. And of course, one of them is this big worm drive hose clamp that these kits come with. You know, it goes around the motor, and then they want you to take this zip tie and, you know, fix the motor up to the down tube so it doesn't wander on its radius. And you know, it's kind of tacky, but if you had an inch in either direction, that would undoubtedly take care of. So if you need to, you can put the collars a little closer, and even if they straddle out to the motor in this direction, you'll have that latitude to move up and down a tube like that. Now, undoubtedly, that could be done on a forward tube as well. So the people that already have a motor right about here, you know, and they've got that hose clamp and that cable tie, and they've got that idler there, and they're thinking, well, you know, I'd like to get rid of some of that clutter, make it a little more elegant, a design solution. You know, if you can follow along with what I'm saying verbally, you know, you've already got it. You've already figured, okay, yeah, two heavy-duty collars welded to a couple of plates on each side, a little closer to this tube would be a lot better. You wouldn't see some of this stuff. It could be done up here, slide it up and down, give you the chain tensioning, alleviate that those two things that are just unneeded at that point. So that's a tip. Some of that smoke might be paint from the underside of this table. I believe I painted some of the underside of this when I put the top on. But let's take a look. And there it is. Nothing to brag about, but I'm not ashamed of it either. The other one looks much the same, and it's a single pass, and that's what I was kind of hoping for, is to just get a good deal of metal over those babies, and so they'll be pretty stout, I think. But you know, I might just grind those smooth and make it look like you know, there was no weld there to begin with. But yeah, no, I'm liking it. These points I talk about, you know, may be no great revelation for a lot of the guys who fabricate and stuff, but if you haven't bought one of these, you don't know. And so I'll point them out, and then maybe that'll help you decide if you do want to go ahead. It'll just, you know, let you know what kind of issues you might be in for, and they're not hard to overcome. So anyway, we got the battery plugged in, we got the throttle here, and there is a button, and it's on, and I'll just and you can see that there's a freewheel here and a freewheel here. That's why, you know, the crank arms don't turn. But while you do pedal, the motor doesn't, you don't have any magnetic drag there, so that's a good thing. And it's external. This freewheeling action is external, so unlike a hub motor or even the Buffon mid-drives, which have their freewheeling action to prevent that magnetic drag, they have them internal. This one is external, and I like that. It's easier to fix and diagnose, and boom, there it is. Undoubtedly, it's not very costly, and all of this stuff is not costly on these controllers, these throttles, and all of this stuff. The parts are low cost, so that's a big plus. Okay, so here you have it. The finished product, like I said, brushed, metal finished, and this is what we were going for, I was going for, is for these two items here, to replace the original bracket, which required an idler sprocket and this clamp to keep the motor from wandering on the radius of this bracket. And so none of that will be necessary. These will do away with those they had for the mid-mount. Now mid-mount is kind of cool because it'll power each gear that you're on, so it gives you a transmission. But honestly, you don't need a transmission for electric bike motors, because they go from 0 to 25 without needing any gear step-ups. Now, if you're climbing, you know, big, tall, long grades up mountains, or mountain biking, or, you know, up in the hills somewhere, I don't know, maybe you do want that, but I don't see the need for it. So anyway, I then developed, I kind of did an about face, and decided not to use the mid-mount motor down where the crank arms are, where you pedal and it picks up the chain there. I put it in the rear of this other trike and drove one of the axles to one of the rear wheels, and I used the crank pedals to drive the other axle. So in a sense, you kind of can get dual rear drive if you're in the mud or snow or ice or something. You know, you can lay on the juice to power the driven wheel electrically, and then pedal also to get the other one to go, so, you know, you won't get stuck in mud or something. I don't know. Okay, I'll capture a little bit of the welding on this chain guard, because aluminum's still a new material for me, and you know, I look for opportunities to use the stuff just so I can get practice, and I love the diamond plate, and on top of that, the aluminum gives you that brushed metal finish, and I dig that as well. So here's what I'm doing with it. that. Let me see if I can get a good prop on the filler too. I guess so. I'm going to go right up over the curve here. I got enough filler here, but I want to stop there and then reposition it, you know. Okay, I'm out of filler. So it went pretty well. I'm using the square wave. I generally have a tendency to try to want to use the triangle wave just to be more careful, but on this I found that the square wave wraps the corner a little better. It's you know, it's, I don't know, I like them both, so I just decided to use the square wave. I'm still using about 200 on the AC frequency or hertz, so you know, you hear that you know, mosquito-like high-pitched buzz, but it's going well. A novice like me, I'll show you. Yeah, nothing to brag about, but I'm not ashamed of them either. It looks pretty nice, but I'm taking them off. I'm going to take the flap disc and, you know, just make it go away. Because to me, welded beads, even on aluminum, when they are just nice and rippled like this, they remind me of Frankenstein. So I like the brushed metal finish, so I'm just going to take them down. You know, it was only a single speed. There was no gearbox, and so I bought a 5-speed internal hub that I thought would fit right on this because there was space for it, but no, it didn't fit. So I reworked the whole gearbox here with some diamond plate so it would accept a standard style internal hub for these kind of trikes, and I thought, well, that's enough. I'll just put this you know, 5-speed hub in and sell it out on the corner or something and be done with it. But no, then I thought, well, maybe I'll electrify it. And so I did the mid-mount up front here, and you know, it worked well enough. I didn't put it on the road, but just the concept of it was functional, and I thought, nah, I don't like it. So then I brought it down here, and as you can see, the pedaling, and there's a coaster brake. The pedaling actuates this wheel here. You can see how it transmits easily enough. But over here on the Cyclone motor, it goes directly to this wheel over here. And you can see there's a freewheeling centrifugal clutch, so there's no magnetic drag. And I like that the clutch is exposed, so it's easy to change out. But I also left a way in, because this is just a single speed with that one sprocket down here, but I left a way in for this to latch on to the internal hub if need be. I bought a second internal hub just so I could get this sprocket and put it on this side as well. So, you know, I can just delete that sprocket there and latch onto this, and then the electric motor will be powered through all 5 of those gears. So it would be a transmission, but I'm gonna wait to do that. I'm gonna see if this single speed is fine, and because I don't necessarily want to take advantage of this gearbox. It's probably not really robust enough to hold up to the electric power for all that very long. And then these axles are flat sided, and you know, this has got a little bit of a torque arm built into it here, but you know, you might need a better torque arm on both sides to really stiffen and strengthen that up. So I'm going to try this first, and if need be, then I can go through the gearbox. But otherwise, I put this switch on this battery box. I had a different battery box when I had it mid-mounted, and I had to delete that too, and then kind of jump a box up here because the pivot on the motor, the other box didn't allow for this to pivot back for chain tensioning. So I did another battery box out of aluminum diamond plate. Welding aluminum is still fairly new for me, even though I've had my AC/DC TIG welder for a few years. You know, I just don't do very much aluminum, so you know, I'm always looking for reasons to do aluminum. And so this was one, that battery box, and the previous one, and this chain guard as well. I dig aluminum, I dig diamond plate, and so that's what it gets. There's also some diamond plate on the other side of this, and I like expanded metal too. So this cargo bin I designed with the expanded metal. So anyway, I believe I've got it turned on. Do I have it? And here, that's the throttle. You can see it goes. And so, yeah, it's going well. Okay, so here we are at the street, and Levi's going to just put this through the paces on the gears and make sure the manual pedaling stuff is good. So what gear are you in now, Levi?
I'm in first.
First? Okay, go ahead and get up to speed in 5th gear so I can see what the ratio and the speed on that is. Go ahead and tell me what gear each one you get into.
I'm already in 5th.
Okay, you're in 5th, and that seems pretty good. That's a good speed. I'm reading 10 miles an hour on my tricycle here.
Yeah, that's really easy too.
Okay, it's easy, and you know, you don't want to be a speed demon. Now, the curvature of a street, you know, has the runoff towards the curb, so you might have to kind of counter steer on that curvature unless you want to hop up into the middle of the street like I am. Sometimes I find that on trikes is better. You feel the difference?
It is better.
Okay. Okay, so I'm liking what I'm seeing with the gears and the manual part. Okay, so let's turn this baby around. And let's go come to a stop, and let's go on the electric part. So go ahead and hop off the thing. Go to the back, and there's a switch down below there. You see that red knob down there? Just turn that until it clicks in the upright position. I forget which way it goes.
Right there?
Yep. Okay, so now it's energized, but there's also another switch on the throttle to turn it on. Don't turn it on until you're seated. Okay, now hit that red button and you'll see lights going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're ready. You are ready to roll. Don't take off real quick. Kind of feather it and take off slow, and then we'll see what we get on a top speed. Okay, you got the lights on as well. Okay, go ahead and pick up speed as you like. Okay, that wasn't top speed, was it?
Top speed.
Okay, that's not too bad. This one's faster, surprisingly. Go ahead, take it up again. Let's see if, oh.
That's a lot of torque though.
Yeah, hang on tight, man.
Here's top speed.
Okay, Christian Livingstone here, and the pre-trial trial went well, I think. I'm going to declare a success, but, you know, with the proviso that insane amount of torque that is generated from this directly to the axle, I'm going to quell that by, let me zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to quell that. See, yeah, by changing this sprocket. This sprocket and this sprocket, they're both 27 tooth sprockets, and I was worried that that being only 27 teeth was going to kind of lug this motor, but not at all, because I don't have room for a much bigger sprocket, but even at 27 teeth, insane amounts of torque. So I've gotten 2 more sprockets, and this one's 22 teeth. I'm going to put this one on first, and I'm going to have to grind it to make it fit the bicycle chain, just like I did these two, but they work fine, and they're real stout, and I like them. So I'm thinking reducing this 5 teeth will get me a more reasonable amount of torque, and that'll also increase the top speed some, because this was kind of tame at 17 miles an hour, I thought. So that's the only way to sop up that torque, is to change the number of teeth, and that'll extend the top speed as well. But if that doesn't do it, one even smaller undoubtedly will. Otherwise, I'm thinking a few little additions before I call this the trial stage. This is pre-trial, but I put on this strut here, and when I deconstruct, that's why I did that. I didn't want to deconstruct the whole frame just to weld up a strut there, because, you know, I'm not an expert TIG welder. I need to pull things apart so I can really get at the stuff to do it well enough. So some of this is going to be deconstructed, and then probably do something different. I might put a couple of gusset type struts here to make this a little, you know, perceivably stronger. I think this looks maybe a weak link. Maybe I'll put some little corner gussets, 2-dimensional gussets across these sections. Otherwise, I'm liking it. I had it that way for a long time, and I kept this trike over the past several years as a you know, a loaner, and when people guess, my sister came out a few times, and she'd, you know, we'd ride along to places, and the collars for the fitment, and I just dig it, you know. And of course the silver, I like silver as a color, but, you know, of course that crossbar is all, that's a solid bar, it's not a tube, so that's aluminum. And yeah, my sister was out here just some weeks ago, and we rolled around on this. You know, I put her on this, and we rolled around, and but the last time she was here, or the time before that she was here, this was electrified, and we also rolled around when it was electrified, so she got to see what it's like to do that. Left turn, turn. comes out of your ears. Oh, could have fooled me. What is it, Freddie? You say get the wax out of your ears or something? Now, but I'll use this as the intro and the outro, hopefully, and you'll see it all. And you know, this isn't going to appeal to a lot of people. They're going to say, well, what's he talking about? Why is he telling me all this stuff? I don't know how to TIG weld. I don't know about fabrication. I don't have a garage where I can do all that stuff. I just want to get a trike. You know, and at the end, I'll show you where you can just go online. And the off-the-shelf stuff is there, and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly good. But for a guy like me, you know, I'm one of the early guys. I mean, I started this stuff about 15 years ago when there wasn't so much off-the-shelf stuff, and but now there is, and that's a good thing. My neighbor friend Logan has popped over, and you know, I'm getting into this TRIKE project, but I'm going to delete that 12-volt battery and circuit I had on this before. I'm going to use the big battery that will power it and the motor. So yeah, as much as I like that little 12-volt battery hanging back there, it's going bye-bye. It's kind of more for my chronology of putting all this stuff together. But some people out there may find this helpful, and you know, especially if they do a little fabricating, a little welding, they'll see some of the things that I did, and I kind of took the long way around to get to the elegant solution. I'm always looking for the elegant solution, but for some reason I really resisted the idea of front wheel drive trike. I thought, oh no, that you know, all your weight is in the back, and that front wheel out there, that's going to lose traction real easy. As soon as you start going up a driveway or something, it's going to start skipping, and oh, that's just not very smart. But let me tell you, you know, it's not as much of an issue as I thought it was, and so you know, I've done it just about every way you can do it, and I finally landed on that as the solution. But I've added another dimension that probably hasn't ever been done before in, you know, e-bike history thus far. I mean, this one made some history, I think, you know, as the first dual drive Delta style trike. I don't think anybody's done it before I have. Now, and one of the first things I'm doing, you know, converting this non-electrified trike into a front drive e-trike is I mounted the tire from the old rim and put it on this rim that has the motor, and you know, these dropouts on the front fork really aren't enough to contain a motor like this torque-wise. So I've got this torque arm, and you can see the dropout there. It's not stout enough. But I've got this torque arm that I put on here. It was a nice heavy-duty one, and you see I cut it. It was clocked like that, which is not right. So I cut it at an angle that I thought would fit up well, and sure enough, I think I nailed it. And I'll weld that back together and weld the tip of the torque arm to the collar. You know, I'm a fan of collars for fitting up things, hardware solutions. So this way I'll have a real stout solution. And I'll fill in all these holes with stainless steel weld. This is stainless steel. And so there is the torque arm finished, mounted. You know, it's a mechanical lock. You can't just slide the torque arm on by the axle. You have to kind of shoehorn it on as the wheel goes on. That's the elegant visual thing, but fabrication-wise, I think it's good too. But you'll see all that, and the materials I favor, you know, in fabricating. I used to weld and do grain conveyor systems, and install them, retrofit them, sometimes fabricate portions of them. And so, this is fun stuff for me. And but my favorite materials to use with fabricating and welding are expanded metal, diamond plate, and more recently, rebar. Now, there was another video I uploaded before this one, right before, on a two-wheeled e-bike project, where that was the first time I started to integrate rebar into the e-bike project. And just so you kind of see something happening with this brake and how I'm going about bending this stuff, I got the two ribs already bent, and they're pretty good. So I thought I'd just show you how I'm doing it. And I got the center bent already, but these two side pieces, they're going to fold over, and you just center it up, and then you make sure your end piece is pretty much centered. I just eyeball it. If it needs a little tweaking after, then it's easy to straighten them up if this is a little off, but this is more key, I think. So I got those angles, so I'll just check them. So,
Sounds good to me.
hey, it's my neighbor down the street, and so I got it started, but I'll check it. Now I got a little ways to go. And a little more.
Nice that breaker top to the floor in it.
Right, it's not too stable, but I put my little paw down there and it helps. Okay, so now we've got what looks like pretty parallel, so I'm going to stop there. That's the bend, and I'll do the other side and tweak it if it needs it. Okay? How I did it with the rebar and the expanded metal and the diamond plate to make that latest e-trike project. And it's turned into what I'm calling a cargo e-trike. It was always intended to kind of be that, in that I built initially the rear main cargo basket to be large enough and robust enough to be able to for like a young mother or somebody that doesn't have a lot of money to put her kid in the back, a small child, and they go to the grocery store and grab some groceries or get an ice cream cone or something. Just, kind of cool that way. And now, but I wasn't really calling it a cargo trike so much at that point, but now I kind of am. And so there's another basket up front, a bin. So you got a big one in back, a smaller one in front. And by the way, that's how I bent this. This pipe here had a similar radius to the rebar, so I just clamped it in the back end, and I drew the line across the diamond plate and bent it here, and it was a pretty close fit. This trike, and you're going to be seeing it, and you've probably already seen it by the time I'm speaking now, and I'm probably deep into the project. Okay, my battery just arrived. The FedEx guy brought it to me. China! Yay, China! Anyway, this is a 20 amp hour battery, and it's going to fill up most of the space I've allotted for it on the layout of that basket, the false bottom, and so it'll be hidden, but we'll squeeze it in there, and hopefully we'll get the controller in there too. Putting the clips together to reflect that. But so this is starting to be the outro already. I mean, I forget all the clips I've got. Okay, a little change of plans here. Originally I said I was going to use these two collars and come out with some, you know, some kind of gussets, kind of holding it just from the one end. But that's not going to be enough. With that battery in this box is heavy enough already. With that battery, you know, the shear forces of this front wheel going up and down on bumps and road, you know, fatigue. I'm sure this same arrangement like I had on the last video. I did the 1000 watts custom e-bike kit install, and I did it this way, you know, because there was no battery box on that front bin, and it's you know, in use right now for the last 2 or 3 months quite effectively. But on this, because I'm putting the front drive motor, I wanted to have weight up front, and I'm going to have it. But this I believe is not the solution. I believe the metal I'm going to use, you know, rebar like I have to would have put up there, but I'm going to use rebar instead. I got some more collars, and you know, that's what these one-offs, these custom things, these prototypes, you know, cause you to do, to, you know, waste a little bit on, you know, what you thought might have worked, but you later discover, yeah, no, that's not the way. So I'm putting collars down here. I'm going to put some struts right up to here, and maybe one cross coming over here to kind of keep it symmetrical. I want to keep these parallel lines pretty much, but much like I did on the last video on the rack of that bike, it was much the same with rebar and coming up with parallel lines to the rack, but this is the bin in the front, so much the same. And you know, this bin and basket will turn now with the wheel and the handlebars. Unlike this would have been stationary, and that's what it is on the last project, which is a good thing, because that was a two-wheel bike, and to keep the basket stationary is better than it turning, because, you know, oftentimes my buddy would have stuff in his basket, heavy-duty stuff, and you know, the steering would turn and then the bike would fall over. Okay, I'm getting ready to lash down the battery with this cover plate, and here are the components tucked in their place. They're all secured except the battery, and what I use to secure just about everything is these lath screws. They're self-tappers. You can see the ends of them coming out right there. As they come through and stick out, you know, you don't want this sharp thing hanging out beyond, so I just grind them off with the flap disc and put a little touch of paint on them, and they kind of disappear. But you know, it's easy to undo them and then throw some more in there if needs be, or use those same ones. But yeah, that's the controller right down there. And I mentioned that you know, secret pass-through hole where you can turn it on and turn it off if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, there's the battery switch here, and that's outside, and it's obvious red on and off for the battery. And you know, that's a heavy switch, and you can see it back here from behind. And So I don't think there needs to be a relay or anything. I've had good luck with these heavier switches, so you know it's not just like a little toggle switch. Those will burn out if you try to use them for a battery, but these won't. But I'll bet there's some relay circuitry in that controller. So if you wanted to leave that battery switch on and just switch it from here, you know, you probably could make a switch, even a heavy duty one, last longer. Otherwise, down in there you see that those fins, that aluminum little module there, that's the DC to DC converter, and that gives me on this this one lead with the yellow, that signifies it's 12 volts and not the 48 volts. So this will run my lights and horn and stuff, but the other connector goes to the controller. But first it's switched from the battery. I don't have the battery plugged in. That'll be one of the very last things that I do, but I put some more sheathing on these because this is going to run along the sidewall there, and you know, I don't want it to wear and, you know, short and spark and get hot or anything. So this is secure. You know, it may not look like it, but it's already got its fences built in, and it's snug as a bug. I just need to put some downward pressure, and that's where this comes in, and it's going to be great. Otherwise, you see this vinyl edge binder. It you know, softens those edges and insulates those edges, isolates those edges, you know, when the motor wires come in. And yay, there it is, 12.26 volts coming out of there, and that's what we want. So let me just plug it into my 12 volt circuit here, like so, and see if we got lights, and how about horn? Yeah, baby. All right, so that problem is solved. It was about a $20 solution, and the form factor is the same, so it'll go right back into that same spot. But they did put an inline fuse on it now, so maybe that was an improvement, and they give you a little extra 10 amp fuse there, a little mini bladed fuse inline. So yeah, we, you know, like I say, I'm no electronics tech, but you know, this DC stuff isn't too challenging. But sometimes things go bad, and you just gotta replace them. And sure enough, I'm happy to report that the little readout works fine. I just took the old throttle and I followed the pin colors on it, and they matched up on the 3 to the left side, and then that 4th, you know, it was this was a 4-pin, yeah, but it only used the 3, and so I changed that 3-pin barrel to the 4-pin barrel, and then I just put a pin on the one yellow wire, and it worked fine. Let me see. Yeah, the wheel turns. It's kind of rubbing on something, but yeah, man, I'm digging that. I am digging it, baby. Okay, and there is the battery box. You know, it's covering what we did, but we just lashed down the new battery with a bracket, and Logan has taken it out on a quick demo. And how'd you like it?
Pretty good. It goes 26. It used to go 28, but I think it's just the current conditions right now.
Okay.
It's pretty windy.
But you're going to have a lot longer range than that old battery.
Oh yeah, way more.
All right. Boy, that bin up front, that basket, that looks familiar. My Trike has got one just about the same. What's up with that? It's got.
So mine mounts to the frame directly. Yours mounts to the uprights on the forks.
Oh. Wow. But yeah, expanded metal and rebar. It's got kind of a look to it, man.
Oh wait, that's where you got the idea from.
I guess. I don't know what the look is. Is it Mad Max? What is it?
Mad Max.
All right.
Custom.
Custom Mad Max. Okay. All right, man. And you can see that, you know, even with the battery box, the front bin, you know, made it into the steering, it's still doable. It's still okay. But it's just not ideal to me. So I'm going to go, and you know, when I did come up the incline there, I did kind of pull back on the handlebars and see if the front tire would chirp, and it did a couple of times. It might have been subtle from that distance, but yeah. So you know, the weight of it is good, you know, but the weight will still be there if I just make this stationary and get it out of the steering. The steering makes it, you know, just like I said, it's doable. It's okay, but I want to continue. And originally, you saw I had those collars, depending on how I splice this up. But I'm going to put the collars back, and I had those collars kind of clocked to these points here, but this is going to go up. This is actually the basket portion, the false bottoms here. The basket portion's a little tall, so as I bring this up about here, I'm going to trim about 4 inches off of here. This will come up 5 inches, and about 4 inches will get trimmed. So this won't look so tall either. It'll come down a little bit, but it'll be raised nonetheless, and all the planets will come into alignment. Yeah, it's torquey, and I was getting a little over 20 miles an hour. And this motor, when I had it on the other trike at the 52 volt amount, would give me about 24 miles an hour. And this, the 48 volt, doesn't get me quite that much, but it does good enough. But torquey, I mean, that's a good takeoff. Smooth. It's smooth but quick, you know. It's and originally I thought, you know, I was getting some stutter before with the Cyclone, but that wasn't it at all. I think it's the throttle, and this is the different throttle. It's not the same one I had on before, blah, 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 but it's a little smoother, and if I have to, I can put my index finger around here and really hold it steady, so no stutter, but I really don't have to anymore. So anyway, this is where, you know, this initial stage is. I'm going to go back in and deconstruct this a little bit, reconstruct it a little bit, and see if we can get the planets more in alignment. Okay, and there is the basket with the haircut. Ta-da! So, yeah, I'll take the top of this and made it back on here, but there it is, a little off the top. Okay, and there it is, tacked up. I think the lines look pretty good. Sometimes they appear parallel lines, depending on where you're looking at it from, but I was tempted to go with another strut up from here to here and kind of give it a little added support, but I don't want to get it too busy down there with a bunch of support. Just with the tack up, it feels steady. You know, no shear forces. It's not going to be able to be going up and down, bouncing around. So I think
I think that will be enough. It'll be elegant. It'll be enough, but not too much. So I'm going to stick with this, and you know, if later it does have an issue and, you know, get some stress cracks somewhere in there, I'll weld it up, and then I'll add another cross brace somehow. But I'm liking this. I am liking it, baby. But yeah, all the angles, I do. I'm liking it. So yeah, I'll pull this thing off, weld it up real sturdy, and throw some paint on it, and go back and start putting things back together as far as these components and stuff to make it go again.
Okay, and here we go with another demo after the alterations, after the battery box, the front basket isn't attached to the steering. You're going to see, comparatively speaking, if there's any residual dampening of the steering from this. And I can tell you there is a little, but not like it was. I mean, well, you'll see. I'll just take a little drive. Woo-hoo. And it's still plenty fast enough. I guess about 22 miles an hour. I found a letter of yours out in the driveway here, and I put it in your storm door.
Yeah, I found it. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
It was from my aunt and my uncle. They sent me a Christmas card.
Really? Okay, so the dampening, you know, there still is some, and you know, before it was powered, let's call that normal steering, nothing up front here, at 0% dampening. And then before, when the battery box and the bin were attached to the forks and the steering, let's call that 100. But now, with it unattached to the steering directly and only, you know, impinging a downward pressure from the weight via the frame to the wheel, blah, 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 I'm going to put that at about 20. So 0 with none of this, 100 with it attached to the steering. You know, it wasn't ideal. This adds, let's say 20 or 20%, relatively speaking, but I do like it. I think it might be ideal in that it does give some added traction controls, because, you know, when you come up the driveway, you hit the gutter, and then, you know, it kind of takes off some of the weight. You do get a little chirp, you know, coming up though. So, you know, you probably don't need to have any added weight up front. When you do hit those areas, you can just lean forward in most applications. But I do. I like this because it puts everything up front here. It's all, you know, contained, and the steering dampening, you know, on my other trike, you know, it doesn't have much rake up front. It's got a short wheelbase, and that thing will get going up to 30 and or more miles per hour. Once in a while I do get up to that speed on a few spots. And I wouldn't mind a little dampening up front there. So, you know, I'm liking this. I'm really liking it. Whee! But still, a trike is different, you know, than two wheels. I mean, it just has different characteristics. I do like it quite well. I think it's arrived. I might do a couple of little more tweaks on it. And like I said, front wheel drive. But what I did was I used one of my old motors from what was on this before in a planetary geared hub. It was no longer really workable on this because I had two of them and one of them started failing. And these were way back when you had to buy the hub motor alone for about $500. And then you had to figure out, well, gee, I got to get it, you know, laced into a rim. And I didn't lace rims at that time, but I taught myself and I laced them in. And at first I paid some guy in town, a bike shop, to do it. But then I thought, nah, I'm doing this stuff. I need to learn how to do it. And it wasn't too hard. A single cross pattern is pretty easy to figure out. There's YouTube videos on it. You can do it. And so, you know, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So I had this one leftover hub motor in the same rim size as this, 24 inches. So it was ready to slap on there. And I had, you know, all the components except a battery. I mean, I did have a battery, but I got a new 48 volt battery for it. These I'm running 52 volts. They charge up to about 58.5 volts, but nominally speaking, it's a 51.8 battery. Those ones are 48 volts. They charge up to about 54.5. And so I it got a new battery because I didn't. Okay, and here are three e-bike kit types. This first one is the planetary gear hub motor. You can see the planetary gear. I set one aside so you can see it. And down below there's a controller and an LCD screen. That's optional. You don't have to use the LCD screen on these. This one's most likely you do. It comes with a pretty good LCD screen, and that's required with that controller. Now there's other ones of these Chinese hub motor kits that don't require an LCD. You might get a little readout at the throttle that shows you how much battery you have left, and they're okay too. But I do like these LCD screens. They're programmable. You get a lot of feedback, but you know, I can take it either way. It's good that you can have them do both. You might have to get a different controller for doing it the other way. This is originally the kit came and was designed as a mid-mount from Unicycle, and you know, you get the controller and you know, the throttle and all that stuff, but and inside that little front case there is some planetary gears too. So, but I like this especially well because it has a freewheeling little sprocket assembly that makes the clutch outside the unit. Now this one, there's a clutch inside. The planetary gear set, when it goes in that hub, has a clutch, and that thing is subject to breaking down over time. And this one is much easier to swap out if that ever becomes the case. These direct drive hub motors, they don't have that problem. There's no planetary gears, there's no clutch. It's direct drive. You get a little magnetic cogging drag, but it's not much. And that's what I've got on my unit right here. And as you can see, it's the exact same one. and I've got it on the other side as well. These are dual drive, and that's what I usually roll around on this one, and it's kind of like my Ninja trike, so it's great. But I started out with these planetary gear hub motors on these, and you know, I could only buy the hub motors at that time for these, but now you can buy Chinese kits with planetary gear or the direct drive hub motors laced into the wheel for about $300. But these BMC motors came standalone. That's all you got. You didn't get the controller. You didn't get anything, just the motor. And they were about $500 at the time. This is 10 or 12 years ago. And they were pretty good for their time. But now there's other planetary gear hub motors all laced into the wheel for about the same price, maybe a little more than these direct drive motors. The ones with the Bafang planetary gear hub motor kits are great. I haven't owned one personally, but I've handled one on a trike that you know, I'm convinced are really a good solution at a good price, good value. So yeah, I like planetary gear. You know, I'm not against it. I dig it. But they were just too expensive, you know, when I was getting all this stuff going. And now that I've shifted to these, I do dig them. And, you know, this, I did start out with the one hub motor I had. It was only driven on the one side, and that was fine for a time. I don't know how long I ran it that way, but I did. The other side was just passive, and but then I put the second hub motor, and it's driven, you know, it's controlled by the same throttle. I just wired them together, and that creates a redundancy. If one motor fails or one controller on one side fails, that same throttle has got power from either one, and so if one drops off, I keep going. I don't, you know, go dead in the water or anything like that. And I can run them individually. I've got a switch, battery switch under there that does, see that switch right there? Yeah, it's right under the scarf. And that allows me to run one side or the other or both. And so that's redundance. I do like that. So I just thought I'd show you the different styles that you can get to power these, and really great values nowadays. I had to learn the hard way back when, you know, there wasn't as many options, not as many choices. And you know, the total cost of this project that you've seen or are seeing is about $400 for the battery. I'll say about $200 for the materials, other stuff that went into it, some hardware items, maybe some throttles. I'll say that there's another $100 on top of that. So I'm going to say about $700. You're going to see about $700 thrown at this project. Now, interestingly, about 5 months ago until just now, the new year, I decided to fast from any alcoholic beverages and, you know, line my chi and save some money too. And sure enough, I think I might have saved about $700 until just now. Now I did have a couple of beers at the new year, and but I don't think I'm going to spend that much money anymore on any alcoholic products, beverages. I mean, I do enjoy having some once in a while, but and I undoubtedly will. But I broke my fast. That was my New Year's resolution, was to start drinking alcohol on the New Year, which is what I did, and I like it because yeah, it's you know, you break down a budget, and you know, inflation has gone up, and you know, people are concerned about money lately, and even I am. I mean, I used to have more assets and liquid assets and more savings, and I had some dental work not too long ago, and I was a little shocked at how much it cost me, and you know, I still might have some more dental work coming down the pike, and you know, I kind of resent having to suddenly put out money like that, but what are you going to do, you know? I want my happy smile to be seen still. I'm making a screen capture right now, and you know, the project's done. The electric trike, cargo trike project is done, and you know, I made reference, hopefully, depending on how I edit this up, to the rationale behind it. You know, since I weld, I did things, you know, my way over the years, and modified it, evolved it, changed it many times. But for most others, you'll just want something off the shelf, and there's lots of good things out there. I was just at this Amazon search. Now, I you know, I'll use Amazon just to show you what the market prices are for the different models and levels. But if you land on one, you know, go to eBay, and you can buy tax-free usually there. For some reason, and I know the reasons, I just don't want to explain them right now. But Amazon now is taxing everything, even out-of-state purchases. They obviously now have a so-called business presence, you know, just about everywhere. So they tax everything. And but I believe eBay, not so much. It's still like it was. If you buy from a seller out of a taxing zone, you don't pay the sales tax. So, but this is a good way to look. It's just an Amazon search, and you can see all of these electric adult trikes, and you know, I can tell you, because my neighbor has one just about exactly like this, and probably out of the same factory, and these are good ones. These are really amazingly well designed, well built, and they have all the components that are potent enough. This is 750 watts 48 volt motor, and that's about what you'll want. That's about what I would recommend. Maybe as low as 500 watt motors, but with the 48 volt batteries. See, these are front hub motors too, and they're planetary gears. These are a Bafang motor, and they're potent. Let me tell you, my neighbor's was brilliant, and very, very similar to the way I did mine with collars. These have bosses welded into the headset of the tubing stock here, and so this basket bolts right to the frame, and it doesn't turn with the wheel and the handlebars. So, you know, they thought that one through too, and it's a good thing they did. Of course, there's no battery box built designed into it down below like I did, but that's another issue. They have their battery removable here, and that's a good thing too, because you never know, after a while you might want to replace the battery, and there are others. You know, this has got it replaceable and removable, and but like this one here, this one kind of over-engineered it, I think, a little too much, in that they have the battery mounted inside this tube of the frame, and that makes it a little more proprietary, and it might limit you in what size battery you can find to go back into that tube, or you know, you may not be able to expand the amp hour. Maybe you want a bigger battery, more amp hour. You want to go farther and longer places away. This limits you. So this one, not so much. I'd say go more the same overall design, but removable battery here. Everything else pretty much similar, but like, stay away from this kind of stuff. 350 watt. This is probably a 36 volts. Not good, you know. I mean, you could probably drive around ride around the neighborhood and say hi to neighbors and stuff, but long range, this is not going to satisfy somebody like me, if you just want to pop in on your neighbors, hey, hi, just thought I'd swing by, okay, great, this might do you. But it won't do me, and I don't recommend it for anybody else. But these ones, these designs here are quite good. And I know because, I've handled one. I was going to do some modifying for my neighbor, but on one of them, but he moved away, but he's still in touch, and let's just click on one of those. Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that beefy disc there for the disc brakes, and that's on both sides. They're brilliant. You can't narrow that tail section though because those disc brakes are in the way. My neighbor kind of wanted me to look at that because these things have an overall width at the rear of 31 inches, and he had a 32-inch door that he'd have to get through whenever he took this outdoors, and he said it was so tight he'd have to go real slow to get through the doorway. And I narrowed my particular one down to 28 inches because I wanted to go through 32-inch doorways and 30-inch interior door spaces, and it does no problem. But these ones, keep that in mind. It's a little tight going through a 32-inch door because, the door jamb has a little trim on it. Now this one here is a little cheaper, $2,100. That's what my neighbor paid for his. He said he paid about $2,100, and they gave him, I guess, $100 off because they only had silver color paint in stock. So, and there was free shipping, no tax. He paid. So, go over to eBay after you locate the model you like. You go over to eBay and buy it. Amazon collects taxes, and you know what taxes can be on a $30,000 or $3,000 purchase. It's not cheap. I mean, some places have as much as almost 10% sales tax. It's just it's a ripoff. All right, so that's let me move the sound over here from out my living room. I don't know what else to say. I guess that covers it. Go. If you're going off the shelf, don't be afraid to step up. And if you really know you're gonna want to spend some time on an e-bike, if you just kind of superficially, want to just roll around and say hi, maybe this would be enough for you. You just want to get out in the air and say hi to your neighbors. Great. Maybe drop off at the supermarket for a little light shopping. This might do you. If you're an elderly person especially, this might not be for just somebody browsing through. You might, or they might not like the fact, it's called a cargo e-trike. I wanted to know about a cargo e-trike, how to put one on my bike. And you might get something out of it. I mean, I go into torque arm, the rationale behind torque arms, and how you have to pay more attention to that with a front drive application, and so there's going to be something for everyone who is interested in an e-trike, I think, but it's not really for the average consumer or potential buyer of a off-the-shelf trike. You might want to watch it anyway. It occurred to me that I might also do a quick look on the internet for the e-bike hub motor kits that you could install on a trike. You may have an existing trike. You may have an existing two-wheel bike, and you're thinking, I'm watching this video, and this guy's he's all over the place with his trike, and he can weld, and I just I want to power a bike or a trike. I've got an existing one, and So it occurred to me I ought to do that, just to show you some, and I'll use the Amazon too. I did a search and took a quick peek, and it's really the same as you can probably deduce from the video that, you know, if you want to do a front drive on an existing trike that you have, it's the same process for a two-wheel bike. If you put a front-wheel drive on a two-wheel bike, I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend for a two-wheel bike, put it rear-wheel drive. The kits are about $300, and they're the same front or back. But for a two-wheel bike, rear-wheel drive, you get such a good double-walled rim with those thick 12-gauge spokes, and usually you get the gear cassette that just screws right onto the hub. So you know, it's really a good deal. And it's better to have the traction from the rear on a two-wheeler. But for a trike, you can throw it right on an existing trike in the front with some particular attention to the torque arm, like I mentioned in the video. Now, these are mid-drive kits, Bafang. These are good, but I don't recommend them. Generally speaking, don't recommend sending the electric power through the chain to your cassette of gears, or if you have an internal hub downline somewhere, don't do it. The enthusiasts and the latest and greatest system is these. You know, they're affordable, they're doable, they're good. I'm not hating on them. I'm just saying I don't recommend them. I don't think they're really needed. These hub motors are still quite good, and you can see this one is the planetary gear. The diameter of the hub is a little smaller, and we'll get to some. You'll see when there. Boom. There's the direct drive. No planetary gears. Well priced. Now, some of these I don't recommend, especially by a company called Jiaopei. Jiaopei. They're the cheaper ones. You won't get an LCD screen, and I don't know, I do think there is a quality control issue with them somehow, but this may not be them. But I look for the ones that have the screen to go with it. Now this is planetary gear with the screen. This, that's a little skimpy there on the voltage and stuff, but you know, and you see the fat tire rims too. Now, they're not double wall constructions. They're just too fat. You know, I would recommend going fat tire, especially if your frame can't handle it. But on the front, nah, you probably couldn't squeeze it in there. What else do we got? I did grab a couple of pages. Now, here is one that I do recommend because it does have that Kentang. This is the controller maker, and they're good. I bought 3 units that 3 hub motor kits that have these controllers with an LCD, and I've never had a problem with the motors either with them. I do like them. I you know, usually go for the 1500 watt, and I'll use front motors in the back of my Ninja trike. Now I'll run them at 52 volts as well, but they'll do either way. But honestly, you know, my little buddy Logan, he got a 1,000 watt rear hub motor of this type, and you know, I think the 1,000 watts is virtually as potent as the 1500. But the controller's a little skimpy, so we just did an upgrade on his with an old controller I had on the shelf that is from one of these 1500 watt. Has a little more amperage, so he liked it better. He said it's smoother and other things it's better. But anything Kentang I do recommend. But this is 26-inch wheel, a rim, and that usually won't work on a trike. Trikes tend to have the 24-inch rims, and you really got to kind of hunt for the 24-inch rims, you know, with the laced-in motor. But
let's just come down here. No feedback yet. But these are all the things you get. Great. Yeah, these direct drive motors, they might all be coming out of the same factory because they look the same. You know, I've cracked them open. I cracked little Logan's open too. He had a little problem. One of these magnets, I think it was this outer two of these little outer magnets delaminated, and they ended up you know, stuck onto this side, and it didn't damage anything, didn't hamper anything, but it was, these two magnets were stuck over here and going round and round, and so I took some JB weld and just put them back in their place, and reinforced all of this with a little drizzle of JB weld all around in the crevices, so it's all better now. But that was from a Jiao Pei. So, you know, if you go for the cheapest price, yeah, see, double wall rims. Very groovy. Groovy, baby. With that basket being fixed and not turning with the front wheel or the handlebars, you can stand this trike upright, you know, for a space saver. So there it is. Battery price, probably. This is more like it right here. You see, you get the battery with it, and it's important to pay attention. If you don't, you know, get a kit like this that has the battery, you know, matched up, and you buy just another kit like we were looking at, and it's of a higher watt output. Like this one says 400 or 500, but you know, it'll go beyond that. And these batteries have a C rating. If you know, like me, I get the 1500 watt batteries, or 1500 watt motors, and they'll amp up to about 2000 watts. You know, when you're accelerating for short bursts and stuff. So you want to make sure you have a battery that has a high enough C rating. So I paid more to get a battery C rating of about 50 continuous currents, 50 C. And I could probably get away with 40 C. Now with Logan's, you'll see in the video, he upgraded his battery. I let him use or have an old 52 volt battery when he first got his kit. So it didn't cost him anything. And he put that on there, and he went, you know, for some months with it, but he finally got upgraded to a new battery, and it was a step down in voltage from that 52 volt. It was, I think, about 10 or 12 amp hours. So, you know, he was only getting about 8 or 9 miles range on it, and it was old. It was 10 years old. But, you know, it worked. It got him going, and, you know, he was a fairly happy camper for a while. But he got to the place where he could get another battery, and I suggested he, you know, step down to the proper voltage that those controllers call for at 48 volts. So, you know, he lost a mile or two per hour, but he gained a whole lot in range and a brand new battery, too. And so, you know, it was good all around. It came with the charger and everything. But his, I think, had the C rating for his 1000 watt motor of 40 C, and I think the controller has, you know, maximum burst up to 1000. Oh no, maximum burst up to 30 amps, but it generally was 26 amp continuous current from the controller. So theoretically, he could have got away with a 30C battery, but you know, I recommend the 40C for it. So it's always, you know, better, you know, to keep that ceiling way above when it comes to the battery. You don't want it to cut out when you want to get out of the way of cars or traffic or something. But this, you know, after you put buy the battery, you might spend $400 for a good high C-rated battery with about
$350 worth of a knee bike kit and you put it onto your bicycle that, you know, might have cost a couple of $100 or more for a frame, you know, you're going to end up with a price of about this. These are right off the shelf. And so with the division of labor, with the, you know, China being able to produce some stuff that, you know, these could never be produced on the North American continent for anywhere near this price. It'd be, you know, probably $3,500, $4,000. But here this is about $1,200, and brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Look at this frame; it just blows me away. And you know, this is stout. This is custom, like a custom unit, but very intelligently engineered, designed, and you know, it's got the shocks, you know, outside. They're not integrated into the frame like you see so many. So, you know, it'd be easy to slap on some heavier shocks if you wanted. And oh, what else did I like about this? Oh yeah, the battery, the front rack has the bosses built in. You don't get this rack or this rack with it standard, but you can add that. And I think I can show you there is a spot where those are. Yeah, those bosses right there. So you can screw on a front rack, you know, like mine, that will stay stationary up front. It won't turn with the bike, and you can, let me see. Oh yeah, down below there's some more literature and propaganda. But yeah, there's a little basket in the back. You could have one in the front. But look at this frame design. Very, very good. And all the features are there. You got the disc brakes, rear drive, planetary gear. You got fenders so you don't get messy and dirty. You can add a front rack if you want to turn this into a cargo bike. Big fat tires, soften your ride, go in the snow, go in the sand and water, and probably ice too. I don't know. But yeah, hard to beat off the shelf. But still, I'm going to say there is a case to be made for you know, putting on a kit yourself. You know, even if, you know, the cost is the same. You could just buy this right online, tax free. You go, if you go over to the eBay and save some money that way. But and deny those bureaucrats. They don't do anything. They just scalp people. But if you get a kit and install it on an existing bike of your own, you will see how to develop, not develop, but repair. I'm going for what it was before. There, boom, 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 boom. Ooh, I'm not connected. Let's get connected. I'm running off my phone for this. Yeah, it's kind of faulty right now. Come on. No, doesn't want to get me that connection. Anyway, I think an argument can be made that it's better to get a kit, install it yourself, learn yourself, and you know, wherever you bought the kit from, you know, you'll see other components for that. They sell the components separately. If you burn up a controller, you can get another one for about $40. And you know, if you have a hub motor problem, they're easy to diagnose and solve. You want to change the twist grip throttle to a thumb throttle, you know, $15. Very easy. And you know, once you install the kit yourself, you become kind of an expert at it. Now, you get something off the shelf, something goes wrong. Oh, what's wrong? It won't go, it won't turn on. I called the place and emailed them. They haven't gotten back to me, and I wanted to go riding today, but I don't know what to do. People always taking advantage of me. me. So, you know, you put on your own e-bike kit, you probably won't end up that way. You'll be wise in the dark arts of e-bike, you know, installation. So that's all. I just thought I'd add a little more into, you know, how you can slap a kit, let's see, a kit onto a, maybe an existing trike. Maybe you've got one in the garage. You can just put the hub motor in, and oftentimes they'll come with a battery option. You can get it with the battery, and they'll mount to a down tube or the seat post tube, and sometimes they'll even have a little box that clamps on somewhere for your controller. I liked how I made it all stealthy. Everything's hidden in there, and so you know, you don't see a lot of stuff hanging off the frame itself. It almost, you know, you almost don't know. Okay, and there it is, complete. I mean, I still got some trials to do, a little more testing, but largely everything is done. The fabrication, the welding, the components, the geometry, the ergonomics. It's all good. You can see that the steering doesn't include that basket anymore, and how it's supported now. And the light is down below. It doesn't shine through the basket when the other configuration would cause it to go through the expanded metal. I don't know what else to say about it. Put that those little handrails, little bumpers up top, but I do like this the tighter, narrower handlebars. At first I wasn't sure if I'd like it, but I do. I like it better, a little tighter, little just nicer. You're not so spread out wide. And this switch is on right now, so the battery it's got the horn, but oftentimes the secondary switch for the controller has to be switched to get the throttle going. Let me see. Yeah, so they're not necessarily in sync. Let me see, even when this is off, is the horn on? No. The horn and the 12-volt circuit is switched here, and it oftentimes takes a secondary switch at the controller to reset it or whatever it needs to do. Not always. It's kind of strange. Sometimes I'll switch it on here and I won't have to do that, but sometimes I do. So it's not an issue. It's not a problem. So, but sometimes I have to do it. So that's what part of the trials is for. It's just, you know, discovering any little bugs or defects. But largely speaking, it's great. And, you know, I'm using that old hub from, you know, 10 years ago or more. And, you know, those controllers are old stock. You can't really get too much of the BMC stuff anymore, but happily any front drive hub motor will slap right in there, and you know, there's enough room under there. The battery box, you know, this false bottom, I left it loose right now. I don't have those little eye bolts, so I'll just plop this out, and you can see that that space there, it's more than 4 inches in depth, and I don't know if that's, you know, 10 by 8 or whatever it is, but I believe it's enough to put virtually any battery, if you're careful about, you know, picking the size. Other batteries could go in there with no trouble. So everything's interchangeable. The battery, the controller, the hub motor, you know, those are the 3 main components. They can be interchanged with different brands, little different styles. You know, the axles are the same, so that
torque arm will go. So yeah, I'm liking it. And you know, that light underneath there's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm gonna declare this complete, baby.
I don't like to break videos up into you know, part 1s and 2s. No, I just hate that. You know, you can scrub through the video. You know, if it's one big long video, go ahead and skip through and check, you know, clips and do it that way. And if you're put off, okay, great. I mean, my YouTube channel isn't monetized. They can't monetize me. I'm beyond any of that taxpayer identification number stuff. So, you know, I just put these videos out there to be helpful to people. So, you know, if advertisements do come up, just dismiss them. It doesn't make any difference to me. And but if you do like, you know, fabrication stuff and rationale, that's what I try to do. I don't just try to do the, you know, step by step. I like to talk about, you know, what the rationale and reasons are, and you know, why you might decide to go this way and not that way, because you will see me reverse course. It's kind of a fun, interesting thing, because I initially set out to do something a certain way, a big something, and then I reversed myself, thinking, oh no, that's not stout enough. That's not robust enough. That's you know, going to be a problem down the road. And so I compensated for that, and I didn't like how I compensated it, and it affected the steering, and so I went back to my original intention. I made some changes in the design, and gave this basket a haircut, basically, and you'll see that. So, you know, it's just cool that way. Fabrication and welding, you know, usually what's been done can be undone and then redone. And so you'll see some of that. You'll see some, you know, shifting of gears. It's not, I didn't necessarily make a mistake, but this is all part of the prototype research and development. You know, nobody else has done things quite the way I'm doing them, because, you know, I'm not really watching what other people are doing too much. I'm just kind of taking what knowledge I do have and trying to solve the solution or the problem and come up with my own solution that works for me. And these are not super original. A lot of the stuff is pretty well known, but the actual application that I'm talking about, I don't think anybody's done. So it's a minor point, but it's mine, and I'm happy to share it with you, and everything else in there. So Happy New Year from Christian Livingstone. The Cargo E-Trike project is complete, and I think you'll like it. There's going to be some old clips too, showing the whole evolution, and so have fun out there. I'm having fun, and peace be with you all.